once we got the grant and established the nonprofit, we began looking for a location, and that's not easy to find in Washington. And we were lucky that we had Helen Taylor on in our partnership, and she was the director of the National Child Daycare Association at the time, and she later became the director of Head Start nationally in the Department of Health and Human Services. But she suggested that we look at the Phyllis Wheatley Y. And it is a historic YWCA on Rhode Island Avenue, which is now in the very trendy Shaw neighborhood, but at the time was in a much more low-income neighborhood. And one of the things that was really appealing to us about that site was they had a big playground.
Yeah, they did.
And it's really hard to find playgrounds in Washington for child care programs. So as Sarah had said, we were able to get pro bono help from attorneys and architects. Jim Bailey was one of the key architects who provided the design. His wife was a former president of the Junior League. And then we hired a construction firm and began construction, divided the space into areas, 4 areas for children from 2.5 to 5 years of age. We hired staff. Connie Daniel was our first director, and we began that whole process. Then once we began operating, we were serving 26 children in the space. And we provided a high-quality early childhood education program, and we also provided meals and snacks, outdoor play, and nap time. And one of the things that was kind of surprising to us was how much the children slept during nighttime, because the shelters are so noisy. And so Bright Beginnings gave them a safe and quiet place to rest in the afternoon. We had our grand opening in December of 1991. The dedication of the center was at a ceremony at the Phyllis Wheatley Y, and Mayor Sharon Pratt Kelly, who was mayor at the time, came and spoke, and Ginger Sullivan, who was the wife of the, at the time, Secretary of Health and Human Services, was also a special guest.
And so as we moved into looking for a new space, the ability to be able to serve infants and toddlers was a prime driver. And again, looking for a place was almost, it is a monumental task. Anyway, we moved to North Capitol Street. It was vacant at that time, but it had an already existing child care center there that had rooms that had served infants and toddlers. And not only that, but we could expand the number of children we served up to 52. And we occupied that facility for a little over a year, and then the fact that it was vacant was an issue, and we had to move because they decided to renovate it and to get new tenants. So we had to move.
We were evicted.
We were essentially true to the commitment of the board. We are looking at a place where we can serve more children, particularly incorporate infants and toddlers into our program. We did another citywide search to try to find a space, and we identified the Perry School, and this was due to an associate of Marty's, Palma Gillicuddy, who was the director of this association, or of this community service organization that wanted to create a community center in a low-income area of the city. And the Perry School was gutted. It was back to the studs and huge columns. And we took a look at it, and we talked to them, and they wanted to have a daycare center, essentially, for the families in the surrounding neighborhoods, but would talk to us about bringing Bright Beginnings there as long as we reserved a certain number of slots for neighborhood families.